That was our accompanist, Whittaker Locke, playing hymn 301, Touch the Earth, Reach the Sky. Welcome to the live Zoom version of the Unitarian Universalist Fellowship of Columbus, an inclusive religious community of people supporting each other in the search for truth and meaning. I'm Rick Spradlin, your service leader for today. Now, I'll turn the service over to David for a quick Zoom refresher. David?
Okay, as usual, we are recording this service for display on YouTube later. So if you don't want your lovely face showing up on YouTube, you can click on the stop video button. But we're always happy that we can see your faces. And of course, we encourage you to subscribe to our channel. Let's get those numbers up. Also, after the closing hymn, we'll be having a Q&A about the topic and any kind of just social hour discussion, coffee, whatever after that. So back to you, Rick.
Okay, now for our morning announcements. Okay, well, Bill, you have an announcement about next week's program then?
Yeah, as long as I'm bullying my way in here. Apologies for that. Next week, we're going to try an experiment. Our speaker will be all of us. And the title of our talk, or the subject of our talk, are New Year's resolutions that are related to the 7 principles and what our intentions are for the coming year. So you probably, all of you should have received, members and friends alike should have received an email about this. You can also go to our website and click on the service for next week. And what we're asking for is find a reading, and it can be short, that gives you some inspiration for the coming year. And we'd like you to do the reading and then have a couple things to say about how it relates to the 7 principles of UU and how it's going to shape your intention for something during the year 2021. So let's make 2021 better than 2020. As I keep saying, that's a low bar, so I'm not asking a lot of us. You don't have to do much to make it a better year. And please do contact me if you know how to do it directly. Send me a text. If you don't, use our email address, uufcga@gmail.com. Put my name in the subject line. I'd just like to know how many people are going to do this. And, if we get, half a dozen or more, that'd be great. And then we'll also discuss this after the service, so you won't be on YouTube. Thanks, Rick. That's all I got.
Okay, now time to light our chalice. The chalice is the symbol of Unitarian Universalism. It speaks to us of reason, tolerance, and freedom, but also of compassion, respect, and love. May its flame ever warm and illuminate our lives. Okay, there we go. And now let us once again affirm the 7 principles which sum up the core values that Unitarian Universalist congregations support and promote. Number 1, the inherent worth and dignity of every person. Number 2, justice, equity, and compassion in human relations. Number 3, the acceptance of one another and encouragement to spiritual growth in our congregations. Number 4, the free and responsible search for truth and meaning. Number 5, the right of conscience and the use of the democratic process in our congregations and in society at large. Number 6, the goal of world community with peace, liberty, and justice for all. And number 7, respect for the interdependent web of all existence of which we are a part. And now, one of the ways we proclaim the vitality of our fellowship is through sharing brief and personal joys and concerns. And as I mentioned before, our member Larry Summerhour had a stroke last Sunday. Now he's recovering, at the West Georgia Medical Center. I believe that's in LaGrange. And Brenda's going to be sending out some contact information to friends and family, friends and members by email. Now, Bill Harlan just got off the phone with him, so he's going to let us know what he told him. Now, the good news we know is that his speech is fine. He can move his arms. He's just having trouble walking. But Bill, what else did you find out from him this morning?
Thanks, Rick. Yeah, and I realize I apologize for cutting you off during announcements. I realized I left everybody else hanging with the news that Larry had a stroke. That was
Cliffhanger. Yes, cliffhanger.
not the best, not the best use of Zoom. But Larry sounds like Larry, and he's pretty feisty as usual. And the good news is that he is recovering. He happened to be driving at the time, but he did get pulled off to the side of the road, and it was a blood vessel burst in his brain, for a simple version of it. But he's looking forward to getting into a rehab facility to start rehabilitating. He emphasized, as we know Larry would, over and over again, how much he loved the fellowship and everybody in it. He said he remains a strong member of the fellowship, and he said in no uncertain terms, and matter of fact, in several different ways, that he's not blaming God for his stroke. He wanted to make sure that he was not blaming this on a higher power. But he said it's just one of life's things. You have to go on. His attitude sounded great. His voice sounded strong. So I'm sure we'll get maybe get an address where you can send a card. And I'm not sure how long he'll be where he is. I think he's hoping to get out of there and into a rehab facility as quick as possible. And LaGrange isn't that far, so we'll find out if he can accept visitors. And with COVID going on, I realize that might really not be even possible in the midst of the COVID epidemic. So that's what I know. Thanks, Rick.
And now it's time for our celebration of life toast. If you have something to drink, you can use that, or you can just toast with me in spirit. We celebrate life. We celebrate life with its beauty and its pain. We lift these cups in tribute to the achievements of human minds and hands, and in sensitivity to the frustrations of misfortune and heartache. Not fixing blame or credit for the outcome of chance, sensing the risk, savoring the joy, sharing it all. Knowing of the certainty of death and remembering the value of each moment, we drink our toast of celebration to this time, to the future, to each other, to the throbbing of the earth and sea and sky with life. Together, we drink this toast in celebration of life. And now for our offering. If you would like to contribute, you can mail your contribution to UU Fellowship of Columbus, Box 698, Fortson, Georgia, 31808. And if you check down your chat box, you'll find this written address. And now Whittaker will play Georgia on My Mind. Wow. Wow, that was fantastic. Yes, I'm seeing thumbs up all over the place, Whittaker. That was fantastic. That old sweet son. When I sat down to give this morning's talk a working title, I decided to just call it "Judge Not." But of course, that's not advice that I myself would ever take literally. I mean, come on, sometimes we need to judge. It's a survival instinct. We oftentimes need to make a quick decision as to whether we can trust someone. Should we believe this person's testimony of certain events, or should we believe the other person's? When we do try to make a judgment about someone's character, we oftentimes hear the advice, trust your gut, or in other words, go with your instinct, your intuition. Of course, intuition doesn't really come from our gut, and it isn't something that we're born with. It's developed over time through experience. It takes years of trial and error and the ability to admit that you misjudged someone in the past. We look for clues as to what's inside of a person by looking on the outside. Some hint, maybe a facial expression, or an inability to look us in the eye. Body language. It's unclear how accurate body language may be. But until we have experience with an individual, we really don't have much else to go on. And we become desperate for some way to know whom we can trust. And for that reason, we come to rely on outward appearance. But a rich heart can be hidden by a poor coat. Now, you may have seen these. They're all over the YouTube. They're short little videos about experiments that are conducted from time to time to test the basic honesty and compassion of total strangers around the world. There's one where they go to a crowded city, and a man asks a complete stranger on the street to watch a suitcase full of money. The actor tells the stranger that he'll be right back, so just watch the money, don't let anybody take it, then he runs off. Time and time again, the person on the street does just as they're asked. They guard the money as if it were their own. Experiment involves a child who's put in the center of a busy shopping mall with a lost look on his or her face and no adult standing with him. Now, most people just walk by, but sooner or later, someone always stops and asks the child where her parents are and tries to help. Both of these experiments were conducted in cities around the world, in New York, Atlanta, United Kingdom, Germany, Australia, Hong Kong, and the results were the same. The people who guarded a stranger's money as they would their own were well-dressed, poorly dressed, dirty, clean, male, female, covered in tattoos, no tattoos, long hair, short hair, black, white, brown, no body piercings, multiple nose rings, lip rings, natural hair colorings, bright neon hair, old, young, physically fit, and out of shape. And the people who walked past a lost child on the mall looked the same as those who noticed and stopped to help. The point is, you cannot see what is inside a person, their heart, their feelings, their reason for who they are and how they look. Now, a third experiment isn't quite so cheerful. It involves giving people a personal illustration about how we have conditioned ourselves not to notice the homeless. They start by interviewing them about who is closest in your life. Now, it's usually a partner, a wife, or husband, a friend, or a close relative. Then they ask that closely loved person to dress up as a homeless person, and then they place him on the street in the path of the video subject. They then record them as they walk right past them without even noticing. The experiment ends with them being shown the video and us seeing their reaction, their surprise, their shock, How did I not notice? Douglas Adams, he's a science fiction writer. I've mentioned him before. He once wrote in one of his novels that it is extremely complicated and expensive to actually render anything invisible. A much cheaper and easier method was to simply envelop something you don't want others to see in a somebody else's problem field. Once it becomes somebody else's problem, we no longer pay any attention to it and we can't see it. Another example of judging by appearance. To close, I read an article a few years ago. I think it was in UU World. It was about a young woman who saw a flyer at a local art festival about a UU church that claimed to be welcoming to all. Well, she thought to herself that it might be fun to test that claim. She figured she'd teach them not to make claims that they can't back up. So that Sunday, she dropped by the church for their service dressed as she normally does. Jeans, t-shirt, nose ring, lip ring, LGBTQ support button, and holding her girlfriend's hand. As soon as she walked in, she noticed this little elderly woman in a very conservative outfit making a beeline right towards her. She leaned over to her girlfriend and whispered, "Now the fun starts." As soon as the elderly woman reached her, she reached out, took her by the hand, and shook it with great enthusiasm, saying, "Welcome. I have a button just like that. Where'd you get yours?" To make a long story short, the young woman joined that UU church that month. Within a few years, she became a Unitarian Universalist minister. The main idea for today is, if you judge a book by its cover, you may miss out on an amazing story. Thank you for listening. And now, before we extinguish the chalice, please remember to stay on for virtual coffee and conversation after our closing hymn. And now, we extinguish the chalice here that it might glow gently in our hearts as we leave this place. And now for our closing words. Remember, after our closing words, Whittaker is going to close us out with hymn 324, "Where My Free Spirit Onward Leads." Stay on after for coffee and conversation. With unity of spirit, we go our ways in universal fellowship until we meet again. So long.